Welcome to our show. So excited about our guest today. I've not known him a long time, but long enough to know that I really like him. His name is Shea Shea Byers. We're going to get it right. Shea Byers. And he's a big-time developer. And he's developing down here in Old Town Lewisville, actually helping rebuild the town of Old Town Lewisville. And I'm excited to get into that with him. So Shea, it's good to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for making the trip over.
Of course, of course.
Your wife probably said, "Where are you going this early in the morning?"
No, actually, I'm supposed to get out of the house. Get out.
Shea, you've been in real estate for a long time.
Yes.
How long?
I got my license in 2000. Yep, so 22 years.
And what made you say, I mean, of all the stuff you could have done, I mean, you're very talented. What made you say, you know what?
Yep.
I'm going in the real estate business.
I remember it like yesterday. When I graduated college, my dad really pushed I get a finance degree. He really wanted me to know the numbers. And I'm more of a, sort of a type A personality, but I like to sell and talk to people. And so I took this job with EDS. I was a financial analyst. They sent me all over the world. And I was living in San Francisco, California. I'm a Texas kid, and I was a fish out of water. Mm. And it was a culture shock of all culture shocks, but great experience in the corporate world. And I got a phone call from a family member of mine who owned a small property management company. They bought and sold apartments. And back then, the apartment business wasn't the institutional big investment money that it is today. It was certainly on the coast, but not necessarily here in Texas. And he said, I'll never forget it. He said, Shea, do you want to make real money or do you want to be a worker bee all your life? And I really didn't know what real money was. I didn't really know what he meant by worker bee. I just knew that sitting behind a computer, being a financial analyst wasn't the answer for me. Mm-hmm. And what was really interesting was I was able to move back to Texas, go to work for him, but I was able to learn the real estate business by being a financial analyst for his, because I kept the books.
Sure.
Right?
Now, how old were you at this time?
I was 25, 25.
25,
yeah.
22 years. Oh, I got your age.
Yeah, you got me. Yeah, I was 25 when I started with him. And it was a great way to learn because, I didn't have a fallback plan. Couldn't just go quit my job, move back home with my parents and just hang out and get a real estate license and hopefully I sell some houses and make money. It was pretty much like, hey, good luck. My dad was dead by then and my mom was, trying to take care of herself. My sister was gone in another city. And it was like, okay, I need a job, but I really want to learn the real estate business. So I used my finance background, working in property management, keeping the books for this company, and then I got my real estate license and started selling real estate on the side, moonlighting. That's kind of how I got my start.
Well, how old were you when your dad passed?
22.
And how did he pass?
He had a brain aneurysm. He just was a healthy guy for the most part, and was walking around the West End. Remember the old West End downtown?
Yeah, sure.
The same guy that I was working for, Brian, had a little building down there. My dad was going to look at it. My dad was a painter. Mm-hmm. My dad was a painter and retired at that time, but still knocked around here and there. And went down there to look at this building and he had a brain aneurysm, fell out, and dead. Never came back.
22 years old. So you get that call.
Yeah.
And you go, what?
I was at EDS and, my mom left a voicemail on my work phone and I was at lunch and I got back and it was just pure terror in her voice. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is it. I just had this feeling, drove down to Baylor, he hung on for a day and, that was it. And, it was really, I always say my first 22 years of life were really, ignorance is bliss. It truly was. I had great folks, great family life. I never had any real adversity. And that was real adversity. I just tore our family structure up and just.
He was probably the rock.
Yeah, my dad was a provider. It's who I learned how to work from. He was a silent, quiet type, but hardworking kind of guy. He was a Korean War veteran, Purple Heart. Very proud. I was very proud of my dad. But he was the kind that didn't do a lot of teaching.
Mm-hmm.
He just did his thing. You know,
Yeah.
he provided for our family.
The one thing that to this day that you learn from him just by example.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget some of the images I have of him, like coming home from work, and I'm 10 years old. I mean, he was a business owner, but he did a lot of the work himself too. And I remember like it was August, and he had paint, like spray, on the side of his face. He was a real tan guy, really, real blue eyes, black hair, and he had this white spray across his face. I get choked up thinking about it. And I was like, man, he's kicking ass. I mean, he's working hard.
Sure.
I don't know if I could stand out there on the ladder in August and paint like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that image is an indelible image that's with me
Yeah.
forever. I was like, I know if he could do that, I can do what I'm doing.
Yeah, great,
Yeah.
a great dad. You know, my dad passed the same way. He had an aneurysm. Now he was well on up in years in his 70s, and same type of situation. A great father, taught by example. He was an engineer, so he didn't say a whole lot. So remember that E.F. Hutton commercial?
Yeah.
When E.F. Hutton talks, everybody listens.
Oh, sure.
It was my dad, right? So he didn't talk a lot, but when he listened, everybody shut up and went, "What?"
Yeah.
That kind of deal.
Yeah.
Died of an aneurysm. And I remember that specific time because time just stopped.
Mm.
And you remember that show, what was that Tom Hanks show where he's on this island? What was the name of that?
Yeah. No, not Magnum PI. Tom Hanks, Castaway.
Castaway. You remember when he finally broke through and he's on this raft trying to get he made it over the waves and all that, and the ball, Wilson. He lost the ball, and the ball is floating out to sea, and he's crying. He's trying to get it, wants to get it back. That's the way I felt when my dad died. I felt like he was drifting, and I couldn't get to him, and I needed him, right?
Yeah, it's terrible.
He's a great father. Obviously, yours was too.
Yeah.
Shea, what is going on with the real estate market today? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's unprecedented. You know, it's what's happening now. It's really scary in many ways because in many ways it's not normal. It's, you know, we're seeing, growth. I mean, we could talk very macro, but it's just DFW seeing unprecedented growth. And so, you know, a lot of folks moving here, a lot of businesses really is what's driving it. There's jobs here and there's freedom here that you're not getting in certain other places. And I think it's a lifestyle change that a lot of people have made that said, hey, you know what, we can take the heat, let's move to Texas. There's a lot of other things about Texas that are very appealing. And because of that, you know, coming out of the big recession, 2010, 11, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, we didn't do a lot of construction here.
Mm-hmm.
We sat on our hands for 5 years. And, then we started building again cautiously, 14, 15, 16, 17, whatnot. But it wasn't enough that when sort of the wave came in, I mean, it's really simple economics 101. I mean, it's just everything has gone sky high with the lack of housing, but then you lay on top of it sort of the global inflation.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got interest rates. And so now you have this, really for a developer, we're in a time where nothing pencils anymore. What a developer needs some level of predictability about what the next 2 years looks like.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have that, I mean, it's already a risky business.
Mm-hmm.
It's already, you're already playing Nostradamus, as a developer,
Mm-hmm.
speculating on, I'm going to fill this property up over here with 350 families.
Mm-hmm.
And then you lay all these other sort of, outlier issues that are out of our control, start to become scary, and really you got to kind of sit back and think, where are we going here? How high does it go? How out of control does it get before it starts slowing? I think interest rates going up are a good thing, Terry, right now. Most people don't, but I think what we need is to put the brakes on the economy,
Mm-hmm.
slow things down and cool it off, and then create some more predictable outcomes.
Yeah, yeah. We have at our restaurant, Sullivan Barbecue, we have families that come in every week. Every week. Now, they find us on reviews, and they stop in, a lot of them from California, a lot of them from New York and Jersey, And they come in, as a matter of fact, last week we had a family from California of 6. They don't have a house.
Here in Old Town.
Here in Old Town. They found us on reviews. They want Texas barbecue. Everybody wants Texas barbecue. So they came in, they don't have a house, they don't have a job, but they're moving, they're moving. They've got to find a better place for their family, where maybe the politics make a little more sense, maybe the economy makes a little more sense, but they're buying it up. Every real estate agent that I know, which maybe a half a dozen, they all say the same thing. It's out of whack, but there's limited product to sell.
Yeah, I was up in, because they were developing a big project up in Salina, Texas. That's sort of the growth corridor. You look at North Texas, we've grown north, and well, we've kind of grown all the way around now, but we've traditionally grown northwest, and up the tollway. And so we're developing up in Salina, which is kind of the hinterland 3 years ago when we started. And now you see, obviously Prosper's, they're building homes in Prosper and Little Elm and Lewisville, and then all the way up that corridor into Salina. And when you go up there, I think if you really want to know what's happening in your community, in your region, go to the new home builders, talk to their salespeople. If you want to know who's moving here and why they're moving. And so my wife, she really wants to move up north. And so we've been looking, especially last year, we looked hard. And I must have talked to every single home builder in North Texas that was north of 121, okay? 8 out of 10 buyers, I'd say 10 out of 10 real estate agents sitting on site with these home builders would tell you 7 to 8 out of every 10 home buyer is from somewhere else other than Texas. So 80% of the home buyers were from anywhere other than Texas. Mainly California was their typical answer. And you know what their number one reason, I always ask this question, the number one reason for moving, what do you think it would be? Hit me with your top 2.
Hate the politics.
Okay, there's one. What's the other one you think?
No clue.
Okay, a lot of people would think cost of living, lower taxes, the politics. It wasn't any of those. It was safety. There's this perception of safety here, of they didn't elaborate, but it was just community and safety. So for wherever they're coming from, Chicago, New York, I don't know where they're coming from, California, the perception, whether real or just perceived, the idea that maybe it's a controlled message here, it's more of a real world message here, more community, more safe. So that really set me back like, whoa, people are moving here. They want I think what it really is as a dad, I look back and I would go, what does safety mean to me? It's controlling the message. It's obviously making sure that my wife and kids were okay and we're not in some, any sort of imminent danger, some dangerous city. But I think it's more of maybe the community and well, for me, it's more about being around, hopefully a Christ-centered community and people that, have like ideas. And
do you think that's it? Texas obviously is known as the Bible Belt, churches on every corner. Do you think that has an appeal outside the state? I
do. I really do, because God is being taken out of everything. Our schools, it's how dare you, and it's hell, it's on our money, and they will probably want to figure out how to take it off our money too. I just think that a lot of the troubles, we're going deep, we're going way offline here. I want to keep it back online, but if you ask me what I think.
But this is real stuff though.
This is what I think. I think a lot of folks are sitting down and going, this is a different message we want to deliver, that we want to raise our family in, and we want to be surrounded by. And I think, I know that was one of the driving forces for me to move back from Washington, D.C. I loved it there. Love Washington, D.C. I spent 5 years there. I absolutely loved the city, but I didn't think I'd ever meet a woman at that time that would be Christ-like and centered in their lives, and equally yoked is what we say. So
You got that.
One of the main reasons I moved back here, I have that. Yes, I do.
She's a beauty too.
Yeah, thank you.
And you got great kids.
Thank you, sir.
Let's get into Old Town.
Yeah.
Okay, so here you are. You've got a project in Old Town. You're a major developer now, Shea. After 22 years, you're a major developer. And you've been working on this project in Old Town Lewisville for 4 years.
Yeah.
4 years in the making, and now you're breaking ground. Tell us about that.
Yeah. I always say we're the small guys. We are the small guys. We have, comparatively speaking to, the giants that are here in this town, the families that I have so much respect for, that have developed much of Dallas-Fort Worth. We're the small guys, undoubtedly. But what we do is we like old downtowns, and we like places with some sort of authenticity and sort of making the old new again. We like the idea that you could walk to get a barbecue sandwich, and you could go get a cup of coffee, and you could go hang out at a park, all without having to get into your car. Mm-hmm. I learned that in DC, and studying under a guy named Chris Lineberger at GW, and it's really core to me. Is that there aren't very many walkable places in Texas. We don't do a lot of walking here because the climate doesn't permit, and
everything's so far apart.
It's very spread out. But there are these little walkable constructs we call walk-ups, and I think Old Town is an emerging walkable place. I think it's decades from being anything you would see on the East Coast, but there's an appeal to it. There's an authenticity. It's Old Town. Go look around. There's a lot of old brick and timber buildings are still here on Main Street, and there's grid-like streets, and so a lot of the infrastructure is in place. Mm-hmm. We just want to catalyze it with bodies, with people. Mm-hmm. And business owners like you, I've never gone to a town and wanted to develop one of these, and the business owner didn't say, bring it on. It's usually the neighbors, the homeowners that are afraid of it. Some are with you, some are against you. Mm-hmm. But the business owners are typically the ones that are like, this is what we need.
Yeah.
We need these bodies.
It's population, right?
Yeah. So
more people eating my ribs.
That's right.
I like
that's
that.
right, which are good ribs, by the way. But it's the idea of bringing people down here that want to live, and maybe there's teachers that want to live at Mill Street Elementary, mm-hmm. and that don't want to walk or don't want to drive to school. Maybe there's here's the deal. Our young, smart, talented people, that's our knowledge economy. Mm-hmm. Those are the people that we need to, there's a pent-up demand amongst that group mm-hmm. for this type of product. For me, I can't live with my family of 5 over here in this one of these apartment projects here. But our young, smart, talented people, some of our older people that want to have a lock and leave but still live in their community, mm-hmm. That's who this appeals to. And there's a pent-up demand because for most parts, Terry, most cities, what we're developing here is illegal. There's zoning laws that prohibit this type of development, and every municipality has one. Mm-hmm. And you have to get into these municipalities, and you have to catch them when the time's right, when they have the right city manager, the right city council, the right P&Z, the right political climate. It's so very hard to do what we're doing.
So how has it been working? Now I'll tell you just briefly. My experience with city management in Lewisville has been better than any city I've ever built a business in, and I've built 14 of them. How is your experience with the city management?
Well, we're not here without the city of Lewisville. This isn't happening without them. They are, as responsible for this project as we are. Mm-hmm. 2018, I stumbled onto this site. It was the folks in planning here at the city of Lewisville, Richard Lutke and Nika, when Nika was here. And they were, I think Nika was economic development, but they basically said, hey, come to Old Town. They knew what we do. They knew we developed in these walk-ups. These downtowns were appealing to us. Right. And they put us in one of their city vans and drove us around Old Town and said, this site, that site, this site, that site, this site.
Wow.
And I laid my eyes on the Ruse site and I go, that's the one I like.
And that was in 2018.
That was August 2018. And it took, Rue had to be relocated, and then there was a lease in place,
It's massive. I mean, you got 5 acres over here, right?
Yes.
5 acres, multiple businesses
Yes.
had to vacate.
Yeah.
Some retired, some sold out, some moved on.
Yeah.
But a major
Hard.
project.
This is why our old downtowns are very hard to rebirth, because there are fractional ownership on small pieces of dirt, and it's almost impossible to unwind it all at the same time.
Yeah.
That's why doing this sort of development is so very hard. And just to be honest with you, it's illegal for the most part, unless it's zoned right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's typically pushed back on by neighbors who don't want to see Old Town become New Town sometimes.
Right.
And then it's just very hard to assemble this sort of dirt, this kind of mass. So that's why you see DFW is sprawled, because it's easy to sprawl. We don't have rivers and lakes and oceans and mountains in the way.
Right.
Okay. And we just have cotton fields. And you just take the next cotton field and you take it from ag and you rezone it and you develop a multifamily deal on it. And you don't have to get five, 6, 7, 8 landowners plus the city plus a lease and all that out of the way.
Are you excited about being a part of the rebuilding of Old Town?
It's awesome. This is what I love to do. I really want to do this, and wish I could do it in every little Old Town municipality, but like I said, it's so hard to do. So yeah, this is what we love. The city of Lewisville was instrumental in us being here. They've been a partner of ours all along the way, and I think it's going to be a big hit. You've seen what this project down the street has done, Aura, down here at the railroad track. They did a great job there.
Will these be apartments or condominiums?
These are all apartments. These are for rent apartments.
And how many?
There's 213 units,
Okay.
4-story product, elevator serviced, surface parked with some under the building, what we call tuck under parking as well for select units. So
how long?
Really nice.
How long is this project?
It's going to take 2 years to build this.
I'm going to need it done in 6 months.
No, this is typically a 16-month build, but we are in crazy times, Terry.
Sure.
And we can't get a transformer. You can't get these, this particular type of lumber, or that brick's on back order, or doors. Doors are 9 months out. Doors are 9 months out.
And the pricing, right?
And the pricing's gone nuts. And so we've got a great general contractor in Any Construction. Hey, they're Lewisville's own Any Construction. Big shout out to Andre and his team. They're right here just outside of Old Town, up Mill Street, about a quarter mile up Mill Street from Old Town. Any is one of the biggest general contractors in the country.
Great guy.
They're great dudes. I'm sure Andre's eaten in here 500 million times.
I got to slow him down. He's a big barbecue eater, Shea, we're running out of time. Thank you for being here.
Awesome.
I really
Awesome.
enjoy knowing you, and I appreciate your friendship. I'm so excited about what you're doing here in Old Town Lewisville. The whole town is, and I think it's great for our city. I'm Terry Sullivan. This is the Terry Sullivan Show. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
And that's a wrap. Yeah.